We don't believe that the government was meant to raise children. We believe that families were meant to raise children. So, we combat child abuse and neglect in three pathways. One is family preservation. That is probably the most dear to my heart, having had a child in child welfare and also adopting children from child welfare and now having foster kids from child welfare all in my house. My house, we have 10 kids in my house. We just took another 3. And so I don't just work at All Crest, I live this mission to end child abuse and neglect by helping families get well and stay well. So we have a family preservation piece that goes into homes and helps parents who are struggling, helps to mitigate CPS involvement, and helps them be well enough to receive their children and flourish. We're also a fully licensed foster care agency. So we are not in competition with DFS. We support DFS. They are overwhelmed, they are overrun, and they are understaffed. They only go into the home 1 time a month. We go in 4 times a month. So we go in once a week to help the parents parent these difficult children because we are specialized foster care. That means we get the hard cases. We get the kids who have disrupted 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. We get the kids who are struggling with SED diagnosis, who have mental health issues, really tough kids. But we love them well, and we love their parents well, and that's why we have a 99% stability rate. When the kids come into Olive Crest homes, they do not disrupt. They don't go to a different place. And then we also have a teen and young adult program it's called TAY. It's the kids who are transitioning out of foster care. The statistics are horrible for kids who are coming out of foster care. The first 18 months, 60% of them are homeless. We know that there's about a 60% addiction rate, and we also know that roughly 60 to 80% of the sex trafficking, sex workers, sex industry comes from foster care kids. So we believe that if we can systemically address and combat the child abuse and neglect that they experience through life, then our communities, our cities, our country, our world are better, but especially their families generationally get to change. So on here, we believe that everybody can do something. What's your something? We would ask that you fill this out, sign the QR code, and shameless plug on the back is a monthly sustainer piece. 501c3s exist because people give. And we want to depend on and work with private dollar instead of government dollar more and more and more. So it's a tax write-off, but we would ask that you consider being a champion family or friend to Olive Crest. Time. Good?
You got a minute 30 left.
Someone taught me well, Pastor. I couldn't get to work around besides yell. I got 10 kids, I can do that.
It does work. Next up is the Director of Restorative Spirits, Dennis James.
Thank you, everybody. Restorative Spirits Ministries / Save One is a 501c3 nonprofit as well. What we do is we minister to those who have post-traumatic stress, whether it be military, non-military, we're all inclusive. Also women who have post-abortive stress and families that have been through abortion, we need that. Sexual trauma, we do that, we minister to that. What we do is we hold Bible studies wherever we can. And I'm also a board-certified Christian coach with the American Association of Christian Counselors. And I do one-on-one coachings for mental health, all aspects, addictions, trauma, whatever is needed. We founded in 2018. It's my wife and I who run the ministry. We have one other person, Christina Pruitt. She's not here, but she works a lot with our abused women, which Southern Nevada has a lot of. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to have part of 5 minutes to talk. But as my brother said previous to me, we are a 501c3. We do operate off of donations. Okay. None of our donations go to pay any overhead costs or salaries. It goes to the ministry. Right now we have a Bible study going on in a Hovey home called Finding You for Sexual Trauma. That, thanks to Robin, that's going really well. My wife is leading that one. We provided all the books for the Hovey home. So if you're interested in giving, I didn't bring brochures. If you're interested in giving, contact me and I will tell you how you can give. Again, just get the word out for us. Aaron Hansel knows me. I've got a couple brothers here that know me. And we're doing what we can in the community to help curb the mental health crisis, actually the mental health disaster that we have. I don't like calling it mental health, I like calling it brain health. So anything anybody needs, brain health coaching, anything, that's what we do. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, my brother Dennis. Thank you. Next up is the Director of USO Nevada, Tim Mullen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Mullen. I'm the Executive Director for USO Nevada. First, thank you guys for having me and speaking today. I just found out about this luncheon yesterday, so appreciate the opportunity to be here. Talk a little bit about the USO and what we are. For those that don't know, USO stands for United Service Organizations. It was started in 1941 by President FDR to help support the troops during the buildup of World War II. And we've been in continuous operations ever since. Our mission is to strengthen America's service members by keeping them connected to family, home, and country. And what does that mean? That means we are there by the side of our military service members. Wherever they are, the USO is by their side. We've grown obviously a lot since 1941, and today we have over 270 USO locations around the world in 36 countries. So wherever there's a large presence of U.S. military service members, there is a USO center that are taking care of them. And right now, more than ever, we are needed in Eastern Europe. So we are in Poland with our service members, taking care of our service members that are helping with the war in Ukraine right now as well. And just last year alone, the USO served over 9 million instances with military service members around the world. Here locally, USO Nevada has been here since 2010. In fact, tomorrow is our 12-year anniversary. We opened USO centers first at Harry Reid Airport. So we have 2 USO centers for traveling service members to come in, and at those centers, service members can come in, hang out, relax, grab a snack, grab a bite to eat, use a computer. Just think of it as like a credit card lounge specifically for service members and their families. So we have that, we started there, and we've grown since then. So now we have a USO center at Creech Air Force Base in Indian Springs. For those that aren't familiar with Creech, there's about 4,000 service members up there in Indian Springs that fly more than 75% of all what they call RPA or drone missions around the world, multi-pilot aircraft missions. So take care of those service members, and next year we're going to be opening up a USO center at Nellis Air Force Base. So more people are familiar with Nellis Air Force Base up here in Nevada, and they have a strategically important mission in training, recruiting, and supporting the fighter pilots in the Air Force. So we are up there all the time, supporting them. So outside of our centers, we have a number of different programs to support military families, their spouses, and their children. A lot more outreach and family strengthening programs. We host more than 40 events a year for our military service members and their families. Not just here, but throughout the state of Nevada. So every once in a while, we're up north taking care of the service members that are stationed at NAS Fallon, which has over 3,000 service members up there, and that is the home of the Navy's top gun program as well as the National Guard and the Air Force as well. So all in all, there's about 25,000 active duty service members within the state. That's our mission to take care of them. So, and there's lots of different ways to get involved. Go to nevada.uso.org. We're always looking for volunteers. We only have the staff of 3, so we rely heavily on our volunteer base of over 125 active volunteers to help run our centers, to help run our programs each month, and always looking for more. So that's what we do here at the USO, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tim. Next up, please welcome to the podium from Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Kinsey Minter.
Hi, friends. So, my name is Kinsey, like you said, and I'm an area rep for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. And so, as an area rep, I am in the high schools. How many of you have thought to yourself, man, I can't imagine being a teenager at this time, right? Like, it's crazy. And so I'm so passionate about the next generation. I'm excited to get into these schools and give these students the hope of the world and get a Bible in their hand and tell them about Jesus. And so that's what I do specifically. You might have met Lauren Roback. She is our UNLV multi-area director. She comes to these luncheons as well. And we have 4 other staff. And we are in Rancho, Cheyenne, Green Valley, Liberty, Del Sol, all these different schools. We're sending troops in to go share the gospel, and we're partnering with 11 different churches to do that. So we're providing them with pizza, and I'm telling you, there are students that are walking by with no intent to hear about Jesus that day, but because they smell pepperonis and cheese and donuts, they are coming in the door and they're hearing about God, and it's the most beautiful thing. And so our goal is to get them in the door, tell them about Jesus, and we're praying that they connect with that pastor there and get discipled at a church. And so we have 3 things. One thing is that there's a golf tournament coming up. So I put the flyer on the table, and so we're raising money. I spend probably about $1,000 a month. I spend $850 a month per school, and we're on 8 different schools right now. So we're just raising money. That's what this golf tournament is, so that we can pay for these expenses, do something for the teachers. We're ministering to teachers on campus, encouraging them to not grow tired of doing good, right? That they would reap a proper harvest. So it's teachers, it's coaches, it's athletes. So sign up for the golf tournament, or you can sponsor a hole. That's fun. And so yeah, we're raising money for our staff. We are looking for volunteers. So if you are interested, you have a heart for the next generation, or you just know someone in a high school, like if you got like a kid that goes to school, we want to plug them into FCA. We want them to lead and get connected to teachers and administrators on campuses. So I think that's what I got. Okay.
Next up is Pastor Gary Wall with Shalom Center Consulting. Let's give a big hand.
Thank you, Rob. So I'm a newcomer to Las Vegas, been here about 15 months now, and Robin and I connected almost a year ago now. So I've been joining you here as I'm able for these luncheons, and I've enjoyed it very much. The Barnett Group did a survey, it's about a year ago now, and they surveyed pastors, and 38% of pastors were considering leaving full-time ministry due to stress and personal issues and things that they're facing. Part of that survey was measuring well-being. Do you feel mentally well? Do you feel like you're doing okay? And that number went from 85% several years ago to 60% who would rate their well-being as good or excellent. So a couple of years ago, we established the Shalom Center to be a safe place for pastors. If most pastors, they say, who's your friend? Who can you talk to about stuff that you're facing, stuff that you're dealing with? If anybody in your church really knew, you might lose your job. If they knew that you're struggling, that you're hurting, that your marriage is struggling. And so this became very personal for me. So I came from California. I was selling real estate, and then had an opportunity to get back into ministry. After being in ministry for 35 years, having my own dark night of the soul, and experiencing a divorce in my life. And by God's grace, I had a new opportunity to come, and here I am in Vegas. Amazing. So as they say, don't waste the pain. So that's why we established a Shalom Center. To be a safe place. We're not doing therapy. We're doing pastoral care with pastors. We're being that safe place where a pastor can come, and they can say anything, they can be who they are, and receive care, pastoral care, an encouraging word, and a listening ear. So thanks so much for the opportunity to share with you, and it's great to be with you for these luncheons. Amazing. Oh yeah, anybody in full-time ministry. So not just, I'm particularly focused on pastors, but anybody who's in full-time ministry. Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gary. All right, next up is Kevin Chapman with Broken Chains.
Thank you, Robin. Born and raised right here in Las Vegas, my good friend Robin. I was high school kid, just kind of get me back. Been here for a minute. All right. Again, my name is Kevin Chapman, and I represent Broken Chains Ministry. We are a homeless organization and ministry that we go out to the park. In other words, taking the church to the park, and then taking it outside the walls. That's what we are. We also collaborate with other ministries. So we're not just with, if we get donations, we don't just take all the donations in for ourselves, but we are also linked in with other homeless ministries and other organizations that we can help out if we do. Since the ministry's been founded over 15 years, it was actually founded by our late pastor, Cody Huff, who was homeless himself. I found myself about 9 years ago asking the Lord one day, Lord, I want to help him do more. I was retired from the fire department, so what do I do now, kind of deal, and just ask the Lord, what do I do? So stepped outside the walls of the local church, and then asked the Lord one question. I said, would you just slow down the world for me so I could see people? You know, everything was going by so fast. When we work, you don't really see people on the street sometimes. You just kind of go by and like, okay, yeah, it's fine. The Lord just did what I asked, and he slowed it down to where I could actually see and recognize, whoa, that's a person there hurting on the street. Then by a fish story, I won't tell you that was too long, but I got out to the park. And I was out in the park about October 2013, and found myself out there serving one night with Pastor Cody. And ever since then, I haven't left. I mean, I wept all the way home because I got the realization that I could go and sleep in my own bed, in my own little place, in a nice little quiet place, and God had blessed me so much. But there was this person sleeping on the ground who had all these issues going on with him, and it just broke my heart. And I know it was the Lord breaking my heart for the people that are hurting out there. So we continue to do that. I've been there ever since. So now, fast forward now, I'm the pastor over this great organization and also this ministry. So we are all about helping people out there. So we're doing, like everyone here, we wouldn't even anywhere involved in any kind of an organization or a nonprofit, really want to just help people. And that's what God's all about, helping people and loving people. And that's what we want to do. We want to love them first, then we want to connect them to Jesus Christ, so that he's the ultimate helper. And we just got to come alongside. And one of our sayings is, we don't want to give you a hand out, we want to give you a hand up, so you can get up. So what our needs are, we need a big, really big building so we can house everybody. Just put it out there. Just being honest. Hotels will do, that's fine, we'll take that. And, malls, whatever. Yeah, we need that. We need to do those things. I'm just being honest. If we have several thousand homeless people here, and they all have different various needs. And if I wouldn't be honest, if I didn't tell you what I tell them when I go out there, and that is, if any time I leave this park and you think that I leave here satisfied that you're laying on the ground, you got another person. Okay, you're not thinking, I gave you a sleeping bag, but I really want you to have a bed. Okay, I'll give you a bus pass if you need that, but I really want you to have your own car. If you need a tent, sure, I'll give you a tent, but I really want you to be housed, and I want you to be well. So there's a lot of things we deal with out there, but just by being anywhere near homeless, ministry or anything like that, it's tough. But please pray for us as we continue to go outside and help people one by one by one. That's all I have. All right.
Thanks, Pastor Kevin. Next up is Pastor Gary Sherman of Corporate Care. Gary.
My name is Gary Sherman. I'm the pastor of North Point Community Church in Las Vegas, and I'm also corporate chaplain with Corporate Care. We're a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to taking the care of Christ into the workplace. We realize that one of the greatest barriers for many Christian employers and business owners is trying to walk that tension between being an employer and being a missionary. And what we do is come along and provide care for your employees and their families in the name of Christ, but they don't need to have any faith affiliation at all to participate in the program. This is sort of a more proactive approach to the traditional EAP programs that many of you may be familiar with. EAP programs, employee assistance programs, are wonderful in their concept, but they are terribly underutilized and subsequently ineffective in their practice. Mainly because the employees, for most of the employers who have an EAP, are simply unaware of the benefit. But a chaplain's assistance program works a little differently than an EAP program, where you might hear about it when you're in the onboarding process, and then you hear very little about it after that. With a chaplain assistance program, we have a chaplain on site weekly for a couple of hours to several hours, depending on the employer's need. And we're there to build relationship with the employees in a way that does not affect their productivity at work. And as we build those relationships, we find that most of the employees are very willing to share with us any care or need concerns that they may have for their family, needs and concerns that they may not feel all that comfortable about sharing with their employer. Because we're not really a representative of the employer, but we're there as an employee benefit. It sort of opens doors of opportunity that we wouldn't otherwise be made aware of. Two examples I want to share with you for recently here in Las Vegas. Two families that were affected by the chaplain assistance program in a positive way for Christ. First family had been a part of this organization for a period of time. They were a relatively new employee though. And they didn't really know their employer or the managers very well, didn't feel very confident in sharing their concerns. Come to find out, she was a young mother with a 4-year-old daughter, and they were living in a very hostile environment, a very unsafe environment. One day I got a text message from them after work hours and asking me if I had any resources available that could help them find safe housing. Now, because I was there and had built a relationship with this young lady, she felt confident in reaching out to me, and we were able to connect her with a community resource that got her in safe housing right away. So because of that connection, just because I was there and was able to make the connection with them on a relational basis, they reached out. We found out about a need that the employer didn't even know about. So it was an opportunity for us to be there for them in a very meaningful way and reach into their lives with the love of Christ. Because of that, we had an opportunity to have a gospel conversation with her and her family. We also have a second, more recent example. A young man and his family had been living in a home. They were renting a house and the air conditioning unit went out. It was during those...
A community walk that we have planned for November of 2023. And our family empowerments, we're actually planning another one for January 28th at Green Valley Christian Center, where we're just looking to equip parents. We're looking to equip the families and continue the partnership with other NGOs, law enforcement in the city of Las Vegas. So that's about it that I have for that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. I'll be part of that walk in a year, for sure. Please welcome to the podium now, from Free International, Mike Marble.
Thank you. Great listening to all the great ministry going on in the city. You know, the Bible tells us God is our refuge and our strength, very present in time of trouble. I love collaborating with churches and not-for-profits that are very present in people's lives. That's how we structure Free International. We're a missions organization, not-for-profit. We partner across all sectors of cities to find, restore, embrace, and empower those who are being trafficked, labor trafficking, sex trafficking, all the above. My wife and I are actually going into our 20th year of doing anti-human trafficking work globally, and 15 years here in the United States. We moved Free International to base out of Las Vegas at the end of 2010, really 2011, and we've just seen just incredible things that God is doing across the country. We got almost 40 missionaries all over the United States that are working to mobilize in the cities that they're working in on a day-to-day basis. And then we go into cities all the time to mobilize the faith community, the business community, collaborate with law enforcement, social services, to find the one who's being exploited. We started a lot of those big city outreaches as a Super Bowl outreach back in 2009. We were the original group that launched all the Super Bowl shenanigans focused on trafficking. Got away from that and got proactive into cities all over the country. In fact, we did 4 cities this year. We have 6 cities next year that we're going to be going into. We always do Las Vegas the second week of February. Last year, law enforcement and social service gave us 63 kids to look for, all at high risk or being trafficked. And over the course of that big search here in Las Vegas, we found 48 of those kids. People go, man, how did you find them? How did you find so many kids? Well, the simple answer is we were looking for them, right? And a church that's mobilized and business leaders in the city to keep our eyes open to look for specific kids we know goes a very long way. But we don't just stop there, right? I mean, if you find all these kids and don't have anything for them on the backside, you haven't done anything for them. In fact, many times you put them in worse situations than they would have, that you took them out of in the first place, right? So we mobilize all sorts of aftercare around the country. We have shelter, we have a drop-in center here in town. We have a missions funding group that has given us $1.5 million in mobile equipment that we use, mobile medical units. In fact, they just purchased a tattoo removal machine for us that we're using here in Vegas. You go, why do you need a tattoo removal machine, right? Well, gangs, pimps will brand their girls with tattoos, with their name, with their logo, whatever it is. The faster we can take that mark, because that mark's meant to mean I own you. It's meant to tell the world that they're owned by that particular pimp, but we know they're not owned by anyone. That each and every person, girl, boy, created in that very image of God to declare His glory to this world. And so we're just thankful for groups like that that invest in things that are non-traditional so that we can do some pretty incredible non-traditional things among those who are really being exploited in our city. We were just having a conversation a little bit ago asking about Las Vegas back at the table and kind of the level of trafficking in our town. When I lived in India with my wife doing anti-trafficking work there, people of India who had never left the country knew the reputation of Vegas and talked about it. Long before I ever moved here, Vegas has still that reputation globally. And so we have a lot of opportunities here in Las Vegas for you as a business, individuals, your churches to get involved. We call it the Big Search, right? The Big Search is that 2nd of February. Next year we're going to be doing Detroit, Newark, New Jersey, and New York City area. We're going to be doing Orlando, and we're doing some more work on the border. Big searches where we, our faith community, our churches surge activity to find the one who's being exploited. We had a guy on our team, his name's Jody, he runs one of our rigs over in the Gulf of Mexico area, and he goes, man, when I got involved with Free International, I learned that 1 is a very big number, right? In fact, we heard a catchphrase here similar to ours earlier. I think it was a dentist here, right? Free 1, or what would you call it?
Save 1.
Save 1. Save 1. Now, number 1 is very important for our God, right? He tells stories of leaving the 99 to find the 1. And so our approach with Free International is really a focus on the 1. We can tout all sorts of big numbers, which is awesome, but the person who's in front of us at the moment is really who we want to give our attention to. Not just to use people to go find the kids who need help, but impact our city and business leaders and different people around the city, law enforcement officers who have that same heart to reach the vulnerable and exploited. We want to be present in their lives as well. Very present with who's in front of us. And so we have our own catchphrase. That's we're going to keep doing this until every one is free. We're thankful to be in Las Vegas. There's a big task ahead. Proud of all the not-for-profits and churches that are represented in this room. I think the first person who kicked this off today had mentioned what an impact a room like this can make, and that's the truth. My pastor, when I was a campus minister at Purdue University, used to always say, you know, in this world there are many mighties, but one almighty is greater than many mighties. Yeah. And we all represent, each of us, that presence of God for this city, because He wishes that none should perish. And if you want to check out what Free International is doing, go to freeinternational.org. But this is where we base. You'll be hearing about the Big Search and lots of stuff that Aaron's doing as well, so we can impact our city on behalf of the vulnerable and the exploited. Thank you.
Question, Ron. Question.
Yes, sir.
You found 48. What happened to them?
Well, every situation is unique to where we got their name from. So most of them, as was mentioned earlier, are system kids. So they get tossed back into the system, but then we advocate with the judges, which, by the way, I hear Mari Parvati, who's a beautiful Christian, just got voted into our family court.
That's true.
Yeah, and couldn't be more excited about that. We're given many more options. So when we do a big search, when we do our intake of the kids we're actually going to search for, we do all that upfront work to go where placement needs to be, where we need to advocate in the courts, where our shelters around the country that we can put them in. All that's lined up ahead of time because, like I said, you can find a million of them, but if you don't have any of the help lined up on the backside, you haven't done anything. But the system's broken, so, the system kids go back into the system, which is why groups like ours over here are so important that we just stay consistent at that to make sure we fix those broken areas and we add more awesome Christians like are in this room to be part of the solution on that.
All right, thank you. Next up, please welcome to the podium the new COO of Hope for Prisoners, Brian Scroggins.
Thank you. I am also relatively new to town. I moved here 35 years ago. So, I've known Robin a long time, knew your dad well, used to lobby when I was a kid up in Carson City. Mike, appreciate your remarks. Barry and I are really good friends. I know who loves you and speaks highly of you, Barry Bernardi. I have been with Hope for Prisoners for 4 months as their Chief Operating Officer. And if I were to give my business card, which I'm happy to do, you'll see all the services that we provide. We're a comprehensive reentry program for individuals who are incarcerated, either at the Clark County Detention Center or any of the numerous Department of Correction facilities throughout the state. We do job readiness and life skills with them. We help them get jobs and housing. We provide bus passes and those sorts of things. But if you know John Ponder, who is the founder and CEO, John's story, and I believe he's spoken with you before, John was incarcerated on a number of different levels for 16 years. His last stint was because of bank robbery, and he was put into a federal prison behind 50-foot walls in Pennsylvania. God came to him while he was incarcerated, and John phrases it that he was impregnated with an idea from God. And then when he came out, he delivered that idea. So John started Hope for Prisoners about 12 years ago. Working for John is like going to church every single day. It's very inspirational. His story, if you haven't, if you're not familiar with it, please go to hopeforprisoners.org and listen to some of the videos. But I'm just highly impressed with John. John was pardoned by President Trump about 3 years ago, officially. When I was talking to John about that, he said, yes, I was happy that President Trump pardoned me, but I knew that Christ had already pardoned me. And so that's the kind of individual John is. John, a lot of people start nonprofits here and other places. Some of them are there for the right reasons. Some of them are there for a paycheck or for glorification of themselves and the community, that sort of stuff. John Ponder is there for the right reasons. And I have seen him put in long days, 10, 12 hours, because I've been there with him. And then he'll say, Brian, lock the door. I've got to go meet with someone who needs some help. So John is all about helping the individual. How you can help us, obviously we like donations. So if you go to our website, there's an easy donations button. We operate on funding just like others. But we'd also love to have you as a mentor. If you're willing to work with some of individuals who are coming out of the prison system, we'd love to have you sit down and use your life experiences with them. Again, you don't have to have been incarcerated. I never was, but if you've been a successful business person, a father, etc., mom, we'd love to have you get involved with them. You know, I will say, God does things in your life and your career for certain reasons. So I had my own business for about 20 years, and I was active in my church and the community and volunteering. I got a job in retirement working for the state. I was there for about 2.5 years, and then I lost that position. And I wondered what God wanted me to do, so I started getting active in emergency management. Well, the morning of 2nd October 2017, I got a call from the Clark County Fire Department if I would come down and be over spiritual emotional care for all the victims and the families. So I helped set up the Family Assistance Center and basically brought in pastors and priests and rabbis. That's where I met Ministries of Faith Ministry, brought them in and helped them. Just recently, I went to work for the state again, 5.5 years overseeing charter schools. In January, my position was restructured. I needed some time off anyway because I'd lost my parents, needed to kind of get my health back together. But there again, I went through the chaplain program with Messages of Faith Ministry, saw John Ponder there. John said, I have a position that I need to talk to you about. I became the chief operating officer. So we sometimes don't know why we're going through the snake pits and the cactus fields that we go through, but when we get to the top of the mountain, we can look down and see why God had us go through certain paths, and I'm certainly a witness to that. But like I said, we'd love to have your help. We also, real quickly in closing, we do a thing every year called 100 Christmases, where we put together 100 living rooms in a big facility with Christmas trees, with gifts, and we bring people that are incarcerated to have that. It's not on Christmas morning, but it's a Christmas morning type of atmosphere, so they can see their children that maybe they haven't seen for years, or their loved ones, wives, and others they haven't seen. And so we try to give them that. John's big on giving people that experience so they know you don't have to go back. And Hope for Prisoners gives them the support services they need so they do not reoffend. And our recidivism rate nationally, people go back to prison at about 70% level. Ours is about 6%. So we'd love to have your help. Look us up. We'd love to work with you and have any help we can from you. Thanks so much.
The last one on our list is with Henry's Place, Dan Mariano.
So I think I've got 20 seconds, right?
Timer left.
The time you left, outstanding. Hey, I'll put on my Baptist, and we might be here for a while. So, I'm Dan Maruyama. I'm the executive director of Henry's Place. If you have one of these on your table, which you should, I invite you to take a look at it. Henry's Place is a camp for at-risk youth, and we let them come to camp for free. Tell them about Jesus, tell them about God's plan for their life, and hope that makes a difference for them. I'd like to ask a question real quick. Raise your hand if you ever went to summer camp. Good smattering of folks. Raise your hand if you went to summer camp and it was like a significant event for you, or there's a significant memory that comes out of it. Super common. When people go to camp, there's something about being out in God's creation, about being focused in a certain direction, that it just really makes an impact. And that's what we see all the time at Henry's Place as well. We bring kids that are at risk, and that means that they're either in poverty or high crime neighborhoods, they're growing up in families that are broken. We bring them up to Henry's Place and we invest in them for a week and invite them to consider God's plan for their life. And God has really blessed that by making a big impact on kids. We heard from some great nonprofits here this afternoon. One of the things we're hoping to do is reduce the workload on the front end for a lot of those helping agencies by grabbing kids when they're in middle school and helping them to figure out how to make the right choices so that they never end up in a place where they need the services that we're trying to provide for folks as adults, or they never end up being one of those adults that creates the circumstances where others need those circumstances, or those services rather. So that's what we do at Henry's Place. If you were here in 2006, you probably may remember when Henry Prentice was killed in the line of duty. He's a Las Vegas Metro Police Sergeant. He had a dream of building a camp for kids. His widow thought that dream died when he died. However, a bunch of folks came alongside of her, and so Henry's Place was born. That's why we're called Henry's Place. We started running camp in 2016, and we just completed our 7th summer. Our camp programs, our initial camp, which we're calling Spur Camp, we've had about 45% of the kids that have come to camp have made professions of faith in Christ or reaffirmed their faith in Christ. So we've been able to see just God do tremendous things through our camp. We're not a once and done organization, so when kids go back home, we reach out to them the following summer and invite them back to discipleship camp. The following summer's Vector Camp, which is a servant leadership camp. And we're working on developing next steps too, because our final goal is that some of our campers would eventually come back to Henry's Place and serve as staff. So we try to invest in them for the long term. So that's basically who we are as Henry's Place. I'd like to ask you to consider three things. First off is we are just about finishing up our own campus. We've been renting a place for the last 7 years, and that really limits our scope. When our campus is finished, we'll be able to triple the number of kids that we can serve every year. And we are 2/3 of the way to a $3 million goal, and that's way more than we ever thought we'd be able to raise, but we've still got a little bit left to raise. And so if you're led to support Henry's Place, we'd love it, whether it's a 6-figure donation or a 6-cent donation, it all matters, and we appreciate your consideration for that for the kids. The second thing I'd like to ask you to do is if you have a prayer list, especially if you've got it digitally with you right now, I'd ask you to just pull that out and put Henry's Place on it, maybe once a month. Lift us up before the Lord. We need it. Okay? It's a big mission that we're part of. The last thing is, and this is probably something that everybody in this room may have a connection to be able to help us, we're always looking for kids that fit that demographic. If you know a middle schooler, 6th or 7th grader that would benefit from that kind of a program, please get in touch with me or get them in touch with the camp. Follow the QR code to this website. And if you know some folks that have the summer off, particularly college students are great because it's a summer job, but we're always looking for staff. And we need people who love Jesus to invest in these kids. And so if you have those kinds of folks in your sphere, tell them about Henry's Place and invite them to check out the jobs that we have. Our staff is absolutely critical to doing what we need to do for the kids. So that's Henry's Place in a nutshell. I got a question over here, sir.
Yeah. Is Henry's Place related to the Henry Rifle?
It is not related to the Henry Rifle, but I have one if that makes a difference. So here's what I say to you, is camp makes a difference. We've been blessed by so many folks supporting the camp and allowing us to make a difference. If God moves your heart in that direction, I'd ask you to pray about that and see if you can be a part of what God is doing through Henry's Place. Thanks for your time.
Great job. If you all will indulge us just for a couple more minutes, there's just two people that would like to speak. We have Chrissy Ann from Women's Resource Center and Vincent, come on up. Vincent is a Purple Heart recipient, folks. So I'm going to hand the phone to you.
Very quickly, I promise.
I'll hand the microphone to Chrissy Ann and you'll hand it to Vince.
Okay, thank you. Women's Resource Medical Center, a prenatal care clinic. So we're giving free service for ladies that are vulnerable to abortion. By doing that, we see the reduced abortion numbers in Nevada because most of these ladies are going to do an abortion because they don't have support. So we exist to be that support. We're a 501c3, faith-based. And right now we're just needing people to work in our harvest. We need a lot of positions to be filled. So if you're in your church, anybody that has a calling for pro-life and would like to be part of our team, savealifeclub.com. Savealifeclub.com. Thank you. That's what I have today. Now I'm going to go to Vincent.
Well, first let me say I don't always dress like this, but I was fortunate and really privileged to go to an elementary school today because the elementary school is supporting and saying thank you to veterans. And they put on such a beautiful display, and their choir sang the national anthem, God Bless America, just brought tears to my eyes. And walking out, some of the kids wrote a thank you card and wrote their name and wrote something, thanks for protecting us. That, I can't tell you how that makes a veteran feel. So I was very honored to do that. And I started an organization right before the pandemic called Asian Pacific Community Awareness. It's a veteran-owned 501c3. Our main focus is getting the word out to the community about everything, no matter what it is. And I picked the Asian community because I lived in China for over 14 years before I came back. And when I came to Vegas, I found out that there's not a lot of attention paid in our paid to our Asian community, and I wanted to fill that gap. And on my phone, on the app Line, I have 209 members
that are Christian-based Asians from California and here in Vegas. And believe me, when it came time to the election, they were praying every night for a good outcome. But my organization in the past, we've had a fundraiser for a middle school in North Vegas, and we raised $3,000. And it was a nice event. I like to put an event together where everybody has fun and they don't mind giving a few bucks. We had a 1950s rock and roll party. Everybody got dressed up, and because I'm a member of the Italian American Club, a couple of my buddies said, okay, yeah, we'll come and we'll sing for you and we'll do the national anthem. It was a great time. We gave the school $3,000. Last month, we did a bowl-a-thon for the Military Order of the Purple Heart, and we raised $1,400 for them. And that's what we do. And this month, next month rather, December 5th, we're holding a fundraiser Christmas party for Sunrise Children's Hospital and for UMC Children's Hospital. And we're also counting on donations to fulfill our dream and our goal to give these kids Christmas toys and whatever they need. And I can give you our website later on if you're interested. I only have a few business cards because I really didn't come prepared for this. I was supposed to be there all afternoon talking to kids. And I was shocked. What am I going to tell 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade kids about being in combat? They're not going to understand, and I didn't want to scare them either. So I just started off by asking them to ask me questions, and that was a lot easier. And I'll tell you, some of the questions they asked, I was shocked. But anyway, if you can support us and help us in our Christmas endeavor, I really appreciate it. And you can go to the website. It's free. We just ask to bring an unwrapped toy, and if you don't, a $10 donation. That's it. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say happy birthday to the Marine Corps.
Vince, thank you. Thank you for your service as well. Thank you for what you're doing for vets. That wraps it up. Good job.